Hello everybody, Teagan here with High Point. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of What is in the Night Sky this month. Tonight we're going to take you through a wonderful tour of the night sky in the month of December. We're going to be visiting several deep sky objects like nebula, galaxies, and maybe even some star clusters. We're going to bring it closer to home and see what the moon and the planets are up to this month. So as always, let's buckle in and see what's really out there. So for the last month of the year 2025, we're going to keep it close to home and we're going to talk about the moon and the planets. Venus and Mars are now too close to the sun to be visible, but Saturn and Neptune can be found high in the south on the onset of night, giving you plenty of time to observe the pair telescopically. A first quarter moon appears to the right of Saturn on the 26th. After reaching opposition last month, Uranus remains in a strong position close to the Pleiades and is observable throughout almost the entire night. Jupiter doesn't reach opposition until January 10th, but is easily visible from mid-evening onwards and is a fine sight telescopically. It's close to the stars Castor and Pollux in Gemini, with a waning gibbous moon joining the trio on the 6th. Mercury puts on a good show in the pre-dawn twilight and can be found towards the southeast, where it'll be visible from about 30 minutes before sunrise for most of the month. It's at its best from the 7th to the 10th, when the planet is at its brightest and farthest from the sun in the sky. After that, it'll start to fade and drop closer to the horizon, but you'll see a waning crescent moon to its upper right on the 17th. So from the planets and the moon, we're going to actually stay within the realm of our own solar system, and we're going to take a quick glance at the most prominent meteor shower of 2025, the Geminids. The Geminid meteor shower, the best of meteor showers, this month has the potential to put on a good show. There are two reasons for this. Firstly, under ideal condition, the Geminids can produce up to 150 meteors per hour, more than any other shower. And secondly, the moon is a waning crescent when the shower peaks in the early hours of the 14th. This means that the fainter shooting stars won't be drowned out by moonlight, and you may see more meteors than usual. Another big plus for the shower is that Gemini, the constellation from which they appear to originate, rises a few hours after sunset, so you can start your meteor shower watch from around 8 p.m. on the 13th. Make sure to wrap up warm, find a dark location away from any lights, and enjoy the show. Under dark skies, any meteor shower without a full moon in the background is amazing to watch, but the Geminids really put on a special show. You don't need any telescopes and not even binoculars, just you, yourself, your eyes, and some dark skies. From this epic meteor shower, we're going to travel several thousands light years away to one of the most epic nebulae in the night sky, and arguably the most well-known. Let's talk about the Orion Nebula. Messier 42, or the Great Orion Nebula, is one of the few objects that looks as spectacular through a telescope as it does in photographs. Visible as a tiny misty patch just below the three stars of Orion's belt, a telescope will show a large greenish-gray cloud with a tiny group of stars, the trapezium, sparkling at its center. Visually speaking, the Orion Nebula is one of those deep sky objects that have inspired amateur astronomers for years. Many people who begin their journey into amateur astronomy started by viewing the Orion Nebula. Not only is it splendid to view through an eyepiece, but it is also a wonderful target for astrophotographers. Photographers of all skill levels find the Orion Nebula a favorite every winter. From this incredible nebula, we're going to travel to a very beautiful star cluster that's not too far away, the Hyades. If you follow the three stars of Orion's belt upwards, you'll come to a V-shaped group of stars. This is the Hyades star cluster, and it represents the head of Taurus, the bull. Coppery-colored Aldebaran, the brightest star in the cluster, marks the red eye of the bull. Now, the Hyades star cluster is one of those objects that really stands out with a good pair of binoculars. Now, from the Hyades star cluster, we're going to be traveling to the most popular open star cluster in the night sky, and that's Messier 45, the Pleiades star cluster. Continue the line up from Orion's belt through Aldebaran, and you'll come to a tiny group of stars that kind of resemble the Small Dipper. This is known as the Pleiades. These stars are easily visible to the naked eye even from light polluted skies, and they are a beautiful sight in binoculars and telescopes at very low power. Viewing the Pleiades star cluster through a pair of binoculars or an eyepiece is an awesome experience, but there's something hidden within this nebula that you can't really see visually, even with rather large scopes, and this is the nebulosity that sits in front of the Pleiades star cluster. The light from the stars in the cluster itself light up a cloud of dust, resulting in a beautiful, brilliant, gray-blue nebula. If you point your camera towards the Pleiades star cluster, you will know exactly what I mean. The Seven Sisters are shrouded in a brilliant blue cloud that makes for an absolutely beautiful photograph. So we've stopped at one of the most iconic nebula in the night sky, Orion, followed by two of the most iconic star clusters in the night sky. We're going to end it on Messier 35, another cluster. Messier 35 is a relatively easy found cluster located at the feet of Geminid, the twins. 10 by 50 binoculars will show a number of individual stars, while a telescope at low power will show hundreds more. Look out for a pale gold and blue pair on the cluster's northern edge. As always, when looking at these dimmer, tight clusters, the larger the aperture the better, and the darker the skies the better. Alright, so that is our tour of the night sky in the month of December. We want to thank you so much for staying tuned to all of our What's in the Night Skies of the year 2025. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments, and if you viewed or photographed any of the objects that we talked about in our tour tonight, let us know what kind of equipment you used, where you were, what that experience was like. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future What's in the Night Skies for the year 2026. My name's Teagan, and clear skies.